Hello and welcome to JoyNews Today. We're broadcasting live from our studios in Kokomlemle. We're also live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125. We are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. My name is Kenneth Jesse. Coming up this hour, in the midst of inconsistent power outages experienced in many parts of the country, the Electricity Company of Ghana insists there is no Dumsor. More as minority in parliament declare the power sector broke.
It's been recurrent, it's been going on, and we just need to know, public need to know what is going to happen to them in the evening, plan their lives, and be able to adjust.
Also in this package, Attorney General defends President Akufo-Addo's 10 trillion judgment debt saved to the state. More as he says the amount is even an understatement.
Because every minister has the responsibility of bringing to the president's attention the work that the minister has done. And in presenting my report, I deliberately understated the account.
Also ahead in this program, proponents of Human Sexuality and Family Values Bill prepared to face 18 civil society groups in court should the president assent to the bill. Details are coming up in a bit. Stay tuned. Hello again. Power outages, especially this month of February, have become a normal phenomenon in Accra and the Ashanti region, but there has been little explanation from players in the sector. JoyNews is, however, learning of a consistent shortfall in power supply, forcing the Electricity Company of Ghana to undertake unannounced load shedding. Executive Director with the Africa Center for Energy Policy, Ben Boache, says financial and managerial issues are responsible for the power outages.
The truth. Let me give you some statistics. Just this month, on the 2nd of February, the total shortfall was about 530 megawatts. So we cut exports and reduced it to 180. 14th of February, we had 390 shortfall. We cut export and reduced it to 190. On 16th of February, we had 360 megawatt shortfall, and we shed 110. On 19th, it was 570 megawatts, and we shed 360 megawatts. Yesterday was supposed to be around 530. We did 380 megawatts. So this is not an event. It's been recurrent. It's been going on. And we just need to know, public need to know what is going to happen to them in the evening, plan their lives, and be able to adjust. I think that is all there is at this point. When you clearly know that you don't have enough fuel. Some of the plants are down. TICO has been down for some time now. You should know, working with engineers, when the timelines look like for them to come back on stream. Tell us what the timelines look like. Let people plan their lives. It's money. Because if you go and buy fuel, you need money to be able to do that. And beyond money, also, there's a management crisis in the sector. And that is why people are happy to explain the problem and not how we manage the energy sector.
Meanwhile, the minority in parliament has been speaking on the matter. They say Ghana's power sector is on the brink of collapse. According to minority spokesperson on Mines and Energy, John Jinapor, government is so broke and unable to purchase fuel to power the thermal plants to generate electricity.
The load shedding is getting worse by the day. The very day His Excellency the President was delivering the State of the Nation address and boasting, at that very period, the utility companies were shedding load. The situation appears to be exacerbating. Yesterday alone, there was a whopping 530 megawatts of deficits, culminating in curtailment of power to Côte d'Ivoire, to Burkina Faso, and to Togo. You would attest that there was some massive darkness yesterday. Today at 12 p.m., load shedding would commence again. our investigation indicates that some of the thermal plants are down. Specifically, TAPCO is down, TICO is down, and so they are not generating enough power. But more importantly, there's a lack of fuel in the system. Because of the financial constraints, government has not been able to procure adequate fuel to fire some of our thermal plants, culminating in the load shedding that we're experiencing. 1 month of load shedding is more than enough. This is not sporadic, this is continuous, this is persistent, and we think that the handlers of the power sector should do the onerous thing by informing the people of Ghana so they can plan ahead of time. This deliberate fixation on denial and deceiving the people of Ghana can no longer hold. We therefore call on President Akufo-Addo, Dr. Bawumia, and this government to do the needful by telling the people of Ghana the truth. We also call on government to look for money wherever they can find that money to procure heavy fuel oil and other sources of fuel to power the thermal plants. We cannot have this quantum of thermal complementarity and still shed load.
Let's go to our parliamentary affairs correspondent, Kweku Asante, who is joining me via Zoom for more. Kweku, welcome to the program. They are also demanding an official announcement of a load shedding exercise, the minority. What more can you tell us?
Can you say that again? I didn't hear that.
The minority is demanding a timetable for the load shedding exercise. What more can you tell us?
Well, that is their demand. They say that because per their research and the data they have available to them, it is obvious that the country is currently witnessing a load shedding exercise, which they demand that government needs to put the data out and announce an official load shedding. In fact, on the floor of Parliament a while ago, the Deputy Finance Minister, Dumsor, sorry, was making the point about how this government had kept the lights on. Immediately she finished, the lights went off in Parliament. I've said that video, and that is the situation. But they think that from everything that they've seen, it clearly shows that the country is witnessing load shedding at catastrophic level, and they expect government to put out an official notice explaining that the country is going through load shedding and doing so.
Right, and the debate on the State of the Nation address is also expected to commence today. Has it started already?
That started. The Deputy Finance Minister, Dumsor, has removed the motion to thank the President on the State of the Nation address. She has spoken at length, spoken about how this government has kept the lights on. Of course, not in direct response to John Jinapor, who had made claims about Dumsor and load shedding. We have Okudita Blakwa starting a debate for the minorities, currently on the floor, talking about how, as a government, the president neglected the people of the Volta region who had experienced the Akosombo Dam spillage and the tenant effect. So it's going to go on until next week when the leaders will conclude here.
Is that to say that the majority has not officially communicated on the current load shedding taking place?
No, not yet. We haven't heard quite from them on this specific matter. They haven't spoken about it, except Madam Abdul, the Deputy Finance Minister, who makes a point about how this government has kept the lights on.
All right, Kweku Asante, thank you very much for bringing us up to speed with events happening in Parliament. Now, 18 civil society groups are up in arms against the passage of the anti-LGBTQ bill passed in Parliament yesterday. Board Chair of the Center for Democratic Development, Audrey Gajekpo, described the bill as obnoxious and say they are headed for the court should the President assent to the bill and pass it into law.
Presentations at the memo stage to Parliament, we've made submissions in the media pointing out why this is such an obnoxious and dangerous bill for our democracy and for human rights. Not only for LGBTQ people, even though the bill is targeted at them, but the implications that they have for other human rights of minorities, as well as even rights about freedom of expression, freedom for the media. So we've made those submissions, but it looks like it fell on deaf ears. And we sort of are disappointed that Parliament didn't take it seriously. we know that there was a lot of pressure within Parliament because of the way the issue was framed. So even those who know the dangers of the bill couldn't come out against the bill. A lot of human rights organizations also sent memorandum and appeared before Parliament. That is true, but our points were not taken into consideration. They went through periods where they took out issues that we had raised about the bill, some issues, but the main substance of criminalizing sexual identity remains. Criminalizing speech remains. And that's where the danger is for, let's say, the media. So
some say it's likely to read into the criminal libel law.
Yes, it's like, imagine that there's a bill, and there's never been any bill tied to criminalizing anything that says even talking about the fact that you have a problem with the issue can land you in jail. That's why it is criminal libel law. And I think it was Honorable Afenyo Markin who made that point. But I think there are enough lawyers in Parliament and they know indeed it is true.
However, the proponents of the Proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill say they are prepared to face off in court with a coalition of 18 civil society groups in their quest to institute legal action after presidential assent. Listen to the Executive Secretary of the Coalition for Human Sexual Rights and Family Values, Moses Fo-Amweni.
Last 13 years, I have spent my hard-earned money and that of the church to cater for over 400 people who are suffering from this business of LGBT propaganda. Do you know when she keeps on saying it's a minority people, minority right to do what? To do what? You see, because the law follows the facts. What kind of rights is he claiming are minority rights? And I've shared this on your station, that this business of minority rights, civil rights, constitutional rights is always a false, herring being thrown at us. And the whole basis for this falsehood was a campaign strategy written for the LGBT movement by Paul Rondeau. You can Google for his name, because they went to him, the American LGBT movement went to him and asked, how can we have America accept LGBT activities? And he said, look, and I'm quoting from the book, After the Ball, go and read it. It says that because what we do and the consequences of it are so repulsive, let us not focus on what we do and the consequences, but focus on minority rights, human rights, democracy. That's the argument they're always throwing out. So I'm saying, you, the journalists, don't buy into it. That's a lie. She says they're going to court. Well, we're going to meet them in court. So to answer your question directly, in fact, we are waiting for her in court. That's a lie. The president is a very smart politician. I don't think he's going to buy into this false argument about democracy and human rights and all.
In a related development, former Executive Secretary of the Christian Council, Dr. Oponi Frimpong, has been applauding Parliament. He says the legislature has responded to a public concern.
We are growing our democracy, and we should not be afraid of dissenting views. When I am hungry as a Ghanaian, I should be free to say I am hungry. It should not stop other people also to raise their concerns. This anti-LGBT law that has been passed, it must be said, is a national concern. What Parliament has done today, they have only responded to a national concern and deserve the commendation, the congratulations of Ghanaians. That other people will want to come together and raise their voices, that is their democratic right. But we want to plead with the president, the father of our land, that this law is a national concern matter, and therefore he must also give it a national response as early as possible. Even if some people want to challenge it at court, demonstrations, media, that is also their right. But it should not stop Ghanaians from protecting our moral values today and the generations that will come after us. At this stage, we will only humbly plead with the father of the land that this law is a national concern issue, and he must give it an urgent national response. We don't need to raise another tension. We have seen enough. And where we have reached is a president who must put this matter to sleep by assenting to the bill.
And the international community has been reacting to this issue since it first broke yesterday. Let's bring you some of their reactions, and this is from the United States Department of State. It says the United States is deeply troubled by the Ghanaian Parliament's passage of the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, which will threaten all Ghanaians' constitutionally protected freedoms of speech, press and assembly. The bill would undermine Ghana's valuable public health, media and civic spaces and economy. International business coalitions have already stated that such discrimination in Ghana would harm business and economic growth in the country. The legislation is inconsistent with Ghana's tradition of tolerance, peace and respect for human rights. The United States echoes the call by Ghanaians who have urged a review of the constitutionality of the bill to protect the rights of all individuals in Ghana. And this is from the United Nations, and it says if the Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill becomes a law, it will exacerbate fear and hatred, could incite violence against fellow Ghanaian citizens, and will negatively impact on free speech, freedom of movement and freedom of association. If it becomes law, it will obstruct access to life-saving services, undercut social protection and jeopardize Ghana's development success. Evidence shows that the punitive laws like this bill are a barrier to ending AIDS and ultimately undermine everyone's health. So those are some of the views from the international community. Away from that story, President Akufo-Addo is calling on West African leaders to unite against the increasing rate of violent extremism and political instability in the sub-region. Addressing the third Kofi Annan Peace and Security Forum on Migration, the former ECOWAS chairman attributed this development to the activities of people he referred to as miscreants. President Akufo-Addo is therefore calling for a concerted approach by heads of states in the ECOWAS sub-region to address the complex dynamics of migration trends and their potential to undermine the hard-won peace and security in Africa.
Offered the stakeholders the opportunity to delve into the impact of the movement of persons from one country to the other. It has also set the stage for heads of state, delegates and participants to explore approaches to addressing migration-related conflicts through effective policies and peace-building mechanisms in the region. Addressing delegates at the forum, President Akufo-Addo called for a unified front to tackle violent extremism and political instability on the African continent.
The ECOWAS region is grappling with multiple sources of insecurity that include violent extremism and democratic reversals. The recent decision by the authorities in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to withdraw from the ECOWAS does not augur well for the security and stability of our common region. The recent political turmoil in Senegal, for example, creates a loophole for miscreants to perpetuate insecurity in the region and deepen the migration crisis. Indeed, such developments are deflecting the attention of the community away from deeper and more meaningful regional integration and economic development that are anchored on the protocol relating to the free movement of persons, the right of residence and establishment. Together with my fellow ECOWAS counterparts, we're seeking ways to find amicable solutions. The region is at the crossroads, and our actions will determine the trajectory that will set the path for prosperity or destruction for our citizens, West Africa. As His Excellency Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, states, and I quote, "As a global community, we face a choice. Do we want migration to be a source of prosperity and international solidarity, or a byword for inhumanity and social friction?"
Meanwhile, Attorney General Gov't says through government's intervention, the nation has saved more than 10 trillion cedis in what would have been paid as judgment debt. This comes after President Akufo-Addo made a similar statement during the State of the Nation address in Parliament on Tuesday.
The savings that the president announced were actually an underestimation. The president grossly underestimated it, and it was actually my doing, because every minister has a responsibility of bringing to the president's attention the work that the minister has done. And in presenting my report, I deliberately understated the account, just not to raise unnecessary eyebrows and to be unnecessary sensational. But if you go through, 10 trillion is just arising in a single case. If you go through, the savings are actually over 14 billion. 14 trillion. Yes, I can refer to this matter, China Jinlen, which the Supreme Court set aside only last year. The judgment that year, if you look at the figure here, originally, and then all the time, Ganashir, it was in the High Court of Justice, I think in Kumasi or so. The transport minister actually came here, made a lot of noise about it because it affected his account and all. And we took it up and compared to situations where ministers and the also administration would team up and orchestrate and facilitate judgment debts. This is amount of 352 million. So that the figures are even dizzy. You can't even 352 million Ghana cedis. 352,662,144.41 pesos. And then an amount of almost $1 billion. $88 million, 294,313. That is it. So almost $1 billion plus 325 million Ghana cedis. So the Supreme Court again in 2022, after 2023, in the conclusion, says the application before the court that we have quashed the ruling given was expressly to set aside the Ganashir order and without prejudice making the controversial setting aside order, and they granted the order quashing all these proceedings. And interestingly, in this judgment, the court actually held that, as we contended, that the persons who had mounted the action even had no capacity whatsoever, and the identities could not be made out. A person who was a foreigner holding a power of attorney which had not been properly notarized and who had even died later on in the course of the trial and therefore could not have given another power of attorney to another person to pursue the trial.
Away from that, criminologist calls for auditing of security systems in intercity buses to quell highway robberies. The Kumasi-Accra Highway has not only been a route susceptible to road crashes, but also a stretch for robbery attacks on night travelers. A recent video which surfaced on social media revealed how a driver and passengers in a minibus swiftly escaped an attack at gunpoint on the poorly lit road. With growing security concerns on the stretch, a criminologist with the KNUST, Dr. Jones Opoku-Ware, is proposing an intensive audit of security systems, including CCTV cameras at commercial car terminals and in intercity buses to profile passengers embarking on a journey.
It's almost midnight and these passengers are heading to Kumasi from Accra, but would soon encounter a near-death robbery attack on the highway.
Go, go, go. Never go, go. Go. Never go now, go, go. Jesus.
CCTV footage in the minibus captures suspected robbers, numbering close to 8, running towards the vehicle in an attempt to raid passengers of their belongings. But the driver swiftly reverses the vehicle to escape the scene and put his passengers to safety. This is one of the many scary robbery incidents that occur regularly on the Kumasi-Accra Highway at night. The situation, security experts attribute to the poor illumination on the road and limited police surveillance. Dr. Jones Opoku-Ware is a criminologist with the Department of Social Work, KNUST.
The brazen nature of these robberies, especially these highway robberies, is what we have to look at. And for me, looking at the nature of our roads, especially which are not very lit, most of the time our highways, which are not very lit, they make it very easy for people to undertake such kind of operations. Anytime they really get motivated to do that. So it is something that is very, very, let me say, very normal for me, looking at the way our highways are configured and the kind of, darkness we see on our highways.
Over the last few years, it has become a new normal for many travelers to make their journeys at night. Dr. Jinapor is suggesting thorough auditing of security systems at lorry terminals and buses to quell robberies on the roads.
I have suggested this to the police some time ago. I think that was last year or last 2 years. That they have to go to the bus terminals and do a proper auditing of all the CCTVs that are there. Okay, especially the VIP area, which is the Asafu area. Okay, remember that the location of especially the VIP bus stop, especially that area, is a highly crime spot. They have to do a proper auditing of the bus terminals, not even the Asafu area alone, but all the bus terminals, because they are generally crime attracted and crime hotspots. Okay, and audit those security systems there and make sure that those who board buses, we can easily have a way to profile them.
For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright-Kweku.
In the fourth episode of the NHIS Cost Burial series, Joy News uncovers reasons health facilities providing services under the National Health Insurance Scheme resort to cash and carry system, even though patients have valid health insurance cards. The reasons stem from NHIS underpayment of services and medicines offered to patients by the service providers. Stanley Nibleu has more in the following report.
Here at the Gov't Municipal Hospital, scores of patients who have come here to access healthcare are not happy because they are compelled to pay money despite being valid members of the scheme. Accompanied by the mother, Sarah Kisiwa has just been discharged from the hospital after spending 4 nights at the facility after being delivered of her baby. She is one of the many patrons who had to pay money for services the facility offered to them. Kisiwa says the National Health Insurance is not simply working. She backs her claim with receipts she obtained from the hospital showing proof of payment.
I have the National Health Insurance, but when I come to the hospital, I am being requested to pay for services including labs and scans. I am surprised that patients are being asked to pay money for services rendered. This is really disturbing.
At the entrance of the Mamobi General Hospital is Rosamond Kodia. She has also been discharged from the facility after being delivered of her baby there. She also expressed shock about the huge sums of money she had to cough up to settle her bills despite possessing a valid NHIS card.
I think it's not working here because they really took me a lot of money. At the place that I delivered, they took me 190 cedis, almost 200 cedis, before I was moved up there. Up there too, I was being charged. The charges are too much. Let's say after giving birth, I've spent almost 500 cedis, and it shouldn't be so, even though I'm using health insurance.
For these patrons, improvement of the scheme to serve its intended purpose must be government's priority. But why would health facilities force patients to make out-of-pocket payment for services they render to them? A health professional with one of the district hospitals in Accra justified why health facilities resort to a cash and carry system instead of relying on the scheme. He said,
"The medicines we administer are imported from outside the country, but the prices of medicines are fixed. By the time it gets to the end of the year, the dollar rate would have changed. Taxes would have also been introduced. So maintaining the initial price will not help the facilities. Prices of most of the things that NHIS cover go up, but the insurance price will not be adjusted to complement it. If you're a manager of a hospital and you buy a medicine for 10 cedis in January, by December, that same medicine costs about 20 cedis. and a patient comes to the hospital, do you expect us to give the medicine to them at the initial price in order to avoid disagreement with the authority? When a patient comes to the hospital with or without the health insurance card, we make them buy the drugs because the price NHIS pays us is way below the price we buy the medicines on the open market.
Let's bring you more stories this afternoon as 5 shops at Carnation Market responsible for handling food have been sealed by the Metro Public Health Department in collaboration with the Accra Metropolitan Assembly AMA due to unsanitary conditions. Florence Kuchi, the Director of Public Health at the AMA, spearheaded the operation and provided further details regarding the closure. Stephanie Bimpong has more in this report.
That's an official of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly jostling a woman whose sweat was soaking into sugarcane she was preparing to sell to the general public. The officials, angered by her actions, would not allow her to continue contaminating the sugarcane and goes to arrest her.
The same thing that she's doing. Look at the behavior she's putting up there. So let's take her away. It will serve as a deterrent to all of you here. That's the best thing. I don't compromise with the wrong. You are doing the wrong thing. We want to educate you, and you feel like you are above education. We cannot allow that to be done here. To go on here, no. I'm saying they should send her away. The task force needs to send her away from here, and she shouldn't be here again.
Even the pleas of her colleagues would not get her off the hook. One of them, Abigail, says they usually have little choice in the matter because their main objective is to sell and get money for their upkeep and schooling.
I want to sell because I want to get money and continue my school.
That was the beginning of the clampdown at the Carnation Market on yesterday's Clean Ghana campaign led by Director of Public Health at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Florence Kuchi.
So you can see that upon all the education that we are giving out there, people are refusing to heed to it. So now the last resort of environmental health education enforcement is legal action. We have given them education, we've spoken to them, but we can see that nothing seems to be going on. So you see, we've locked some of the facilities, and those people will be taking them to court. So at the end of the day, we serve 4 notices, statutory notices. And we are asking them to come to the office. They'll come and explain to us why those things are going on in the various facilities that they are operating.
The team went to inspect the environments of drinking bars, cornmeal shops, and other food joints. 4 of the cornmeal joints whose surroundings didn't meet the sanitation criteria were shut down. The day ended with a caution to other traders to be mindful of their surroundings while adhering to the Assembly's bylaws. Stephanie Bwampo's report, read to you.
We're back from the break with the latest in business.
Welcome. Let's do some business. I am Emma Davis. Ghana's electric vehicle policy is expected to provide market signals and help to decarbonize the transport sector. Meanwhile, players within the sector want more to be done to support more investors. According to team lead for Jet Ghana, Eugene Sagmote, a more conducive environment for investors is key to the growth of the space. More in this report.
Organized by the Jobs and Economic Transformation Ghana team, the UK government program is dedicated to the creation of jobs and economic transformation in Ghana. The initiative aims to explore investment opportunities, foster partnerships, and contribute to the growth of the automotive sector in Ghana.
The market is really burgeoning at the moment and presents lots of opportunities that these advanced manufacturers based in India are looking to take these opportunities further. In the space of 2-3-wheeler manufacturing, the market is very ripe. We see a few manufacturers here, and we have seen the government being supportive of the development in that segment of the automotive industry with a recent EV policy, which is seeking to increase uptake of electric vehicles. Herein lies opportunity for them to partner with local stakeholders, as well as last mile delivery companies like the Ubers and the Yangos and the Bolts, to ensure that while delivery is safe and fast, it is also contributing to the existential issue of our time, which is climate change.
Founding director of Shima E-Vehicle and Solar Limited, Yugesh Lad, described Ghana's investment environment as positive.
What stage is now the Ghana is, or the West Africa is, it's about the electric vehicles. It's a starting here. So definitely we are finding a good opportunity if we invest here for the electric two-wheelers. And as the government is very clear about the policies for the EVs implementations in the future, definitely we find a good business opportunity here.
Chief Executive of the Private Enterprises Federation, Nana Osei-Bonsu, is renewing calls for the Income Tax Amendments Bill to be reviewed in order to support businesses to grow. According to him, the tax handle is unfair to small and medium enterprises and hampering growth.
We wanted to alert the government to the point that one shoe fits all tax regime, income tax regime, not on all taxes, just the income tax, which is 25% of any business that you do. You're supposed to pay taxes on the income that you generate from that business. We think that that is a misnomer. They don't allow the SMEs to grow. The small potatoes, if you pay 25% on 10,000, the residual is little compared to 25% on 2 million. So the big players, even of 25%, they still get the benefit of a whole lot of money to be able to do their business. But micro, small, and medium enterprises, 25% on their income. So what we wanted to do, and the study has shown that if we stagger, if you spread the taxes on their income, say if you make 10,000, you pay 1%. If you make 20,000, you pay 3%. You make 50,000, you pay about 7%. Then it allows them room to accumulate. Why do people do business? They do business because they want to keep the majority of the money to themselves. They don't go do business because they want to pay taxes. So if you allow them room to get the money that they make from their business to grow their business to the level they will voluntarily be able to pay their taxes. And the government wouldn't have to get the tax accountants chasing people and going after them, and cases where the government was even intending to take taxpayers to court. You take taxpayers to court, what do? You destroy their business, you destroy the employment that they generate, and then you don't get the money going forward tomorrow. So that's the end of the day for you and them, the sunlight.
That'll be all for business with me, Emma Davis. For more business news, do log on to myjoyonline.com. The news continues. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, welcome to the Showbiz segment with me, Jacqueline Ansumayobwa. Now imagine having to only celebrate your birthday once every 4 years. On 29th February, about 5 million people around the world celebrate their once every 4 years real birthday. For some of the leaplings, being born on 29th February is an excuse to celebrate over 2 days when it's not a leap year.
One of those days that happens once every 4 years. We have people born on that day, but the big question resonates: how do they celebrate their birthdays? I'm here today with my colleague Samuel Imbura to tell us more. Sammy, happy birthday to you.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful, Jackie. It's a wonderful day for me, actually.
Of course it is. 4 years, once every 4 years. How do you do that? How do you celebrate your birthday?
Right, so The days that, or the years that we don't have a leap year, I celebrate it either on the 28th of February or move it to the 1st of March. Reason being that I don't want to feel secluded, I don't want to feel lonely, but I know in actuality that is not my birthday.
How does it feel to celebrate your birthday once every 4 years?
I actually feel special because if you look at the population, the whole world running into billions, we constitute just about 5 million. If you come to Ghana, we are just about a little over 1 million.
Like it's kind of magical and it's kind of special. One thing I like about our birthday or growing up, one thing I really enjoyed was during my friends' birthdays, they will come to school and then we will wet them. But for me, I don't remember an instance where someone got to wet me, because you have to wait for 4 good years before you can wet me. And eventually, we will be free, but like you will forget about it. And then with the calculations, I feel like I'm 6 years old. Yeah, I'm 6 years. That's me. Because 24 divided by 4 is 6.
Raymond, you were born on 28th February.
Exactly.
But you were telling me earlier that most people have difficulty in believing the fact that you were born on 28th. Can you tell me more about that?
In fact, about 10 minutes ago, I received a call from my uncle wishing me a happy birthday. It's a typical example of what I've gone through most part of my life. You know, people at church, people in school, they still insist that I am not an exclusive member of the 28 group and that I belong to those in the 29th era. I have no problem about that. Even on my school platform yesterday, they had a full debate about my date of birth, and it's a constant debate. Every year, I have to suffer with my fellows in the 29th February group. But I love it. It adds more excitement, more joy to the celebration. So I have decided that I'll do 28th, I'll do 29th, and I'll do 1st March.
Happy birthday, oh, I gotta sing down to you every day, every day, every day.
Well, we are back on a time-traveling adventure for Throwback Thursday as we dive into the real treasures of Ghana's cinematic past. Here are some classic productions in the 90s that will blow your mind. Well, it's a wrap for the showbiz segments with me, Jacqueline and Suma Iabua. Ken.
Wow, that's a very nostalgic, feeling, because I've studied drama in school, so we're made to watch some of these movies. Thank you very much, Jackie, for bringing us entertainment. But that's it for now. My name is Kenneth. Jesse, Marketplace is up next with Dara Kwao.